We were about a good 80% done with writing the album. We were finalizing a lot of the different songs that we had, and I'm always cooking up. You know, I'm working in Ableton on my MacBook Pro. Just another loop created and threw a little beat together.
I can see the devil in her eyes. I think I'ma stay for the night. Hope she doesn't take over my mind. Will I even make it out alive?
Kind of just off the top of my head, throughout the hook for Her Eyes, what came to be the hook. And I showed up to the studio and showed the boys. I was like, look, I know we're kind of done here. We had a whole list, about 40 different songs we wanted to pick from for this album. And this was the newest song, or demo rather, added to this giant list.
After he did that, we immediately sat down and we immediately started working on what the drums are going to sound like, what the guitars are going to sound like, what the bass is going to sound like, and what the vocal melodies are going to be.
The beat to me it wasn't complex, and I think the whole simplicity of the beat, you know, really allowed us to go heavy on it and kind of take any direction we wanted, whether if it was a little softer or heavier, and obviously we took the heavier direction.
So seeing the song kind of come to life from a beat all the way to the final stage of what everybody hears now, it's kind of crazy to kind of think that just a beat by itself and kind of a synth can turn into a full rock song. And when I first heard it, I didn't really think too much of anything except like that's a cool beat and that's kind of a cool like lead synth that was kind of put into it.
So we get down kind of a rough idea of the guitars, the bass, and the drums, and then we all sit around and we all started writing the lyrics out and coming up with cool concepts for the lyrics. And that's where the whole idea of Her Eyes and seeing the devil in her eyes came about.
So why we felt we wanted to drop this version of Her Eyes is because, again, where our influence took us to write this original song, I think it's just in a different way. I mean, it's a different light looking at it, right? So growing up, we always listened to hip hop as kids, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, bands like, let's say, Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park in particular, Evanescence. I mean, they all have little tendencies of hip-hop elements, right? So that's something that we've always taken into our music. Never forceful, right? We don't want to ever come across that we're a rap band per se, but there's always those hip-hop elements. I mean, even in today's music, there's always some sort of hip-hop, rap, trap influence. So we kind of incorporate that in a very unique way without it seeming too forced. So why I think we wanted to drop this was to showcase, like, look, these are the type of kids that we are, and this is what we listen to, and we take this in and make it our own. And so I find it to be very interesting that you can hear the song that we dropped in a different way.
So a really important thing with Her Eyes was the marriage between the lyrics and the melodies and the instrumentation. And I think we did a really, really good job at that because we needed it to have a darker feel to it, and we needed it to be the right vibe and the right headspace in order to perform the song the best that we could. When you put those two things together, you end up getting a really, really good song. And for us, it's a really, really good Fame on Fire song.
Because the song's doing so well, we want to drop this version of Her Eyes so that, you know, you guys can understand where our mindset was when we were creating the song, and give you guys the opportunity to kind of dive into how we were feeling and, you know, the way everything started with the song and the album, without it being such an in-your-face and dynamic version of the song.
It puts us in a vulnerable position to drop a hip-hop version of Her Eyes just because everybody's already heard the final version of what the actual song is.
We all wrote the song together, wrote the melodies together, and came up with all the instrumentation together. And that's what brought it to being a Fame song. You know, that's what it really takes to be a Fame song, is all of us coming together and putting in our effort and making it great.